How to meet hardworking men to be friends with. First of all, respect to you. You clicked on this long, unedited guide instead of all the short clickbait, crappy videos out there, the top 9 ways to get onto nofap kind of videos. You've obviously got a higher attention span, you're a better student, you're more intellectual, and you seek real knowledge rather than most of the videos on YouTube, which are just fluff. It's just like the influencer just yapping and trying to get views rather than trying to educate you. This is an educational guide. I'm not just trying to get views, although it would be nice. I'm trying to actually give you a real education here. So if you've clicked on that and you'll stay for that, then respect to you. Why should you listen to me? Well, I went from working on my goals alone and feeling pretty lonely, if I'm honest, to having a fulfilling social life that even sometimes I have to take a step back from to focus on work. This is me on the left when I was about 19 years old, and read the caption like this is really real. I posted this onto my Snapchat story. Pop up, don't care who. I was that kind of guy who I would basically like ask the masses on my Snapchat story for someone to message me. And so I did struggle with not only meeting friends, but also like-minded guys as well, because I only really had like video gamer friends who weren't very nice to me. And to now, I've got like a nice social circle. I work very closely with my brother. I train very closely with my friend Zach, and I've got another friend, Mason, in the gym. Then I meet loads of friends for like social events every now and then. And I'm fairly fulfilled. I won't lie to you, like my social life is definitely not my priority. My work is, but it's still awesome to have like the options to go and meet the boys, go to restaurants and everything. So here's my promise to you. If you follow this guide, I'll teach you how to not only meet other guys, but also meet guys who are actually doing cool shit, like guys who you're actually compatible with, who you'll think like, oh damn, this guy's similar to me, like he's actually doing something in life. Because truthfully, not to like, suck your dick right now, but if you're watching a video like this, you are not like most people in the world. Like you're watching an educational tutorial on how to meet high quality people rather than watching like some fucking FIFA gameplay, Fortnite gameplay, rather than just watching some TV show or movie or something, which means that you trying to be friends with most people is just not going to work well because you won't have that much in common. You would want to make friends with someone who's similar to you, intellectual, hardworking, reads books, wants to improve in life, is improving at such a fast rate. And so I'm going to help you to find that kind of person. And by the end of this tutorial, you're going to be thinking like, oh shit, like I actually have so much hope that I'm genuinely going to be finding not just one, but a couple of guys who are going to be just like me, like hard workers, high performers, because I've got a system that will really help you here. So quick introduction, I'm Hamza and I make videos that save lives. So you can subscribe right now if this is the kind of like educational knowledge content that like gets your dick hard and you're thinking, oh shit, I can't believe like I get to watch a video like this where someone's made a guide on how to make friends in detail rather than the quick clickbaity kind of videos. This is just a low dopamine tutorial with everything that I know about making friends. So make sure you subscribe, because then you're more likely to see my videos on your homepage. And if you don't, then there'll probably be some videos every now and then that you'll miss, and you'll end up seeing them weeks later being like, oh shit, I didn't see that, I should have subscribed. And also, if I've already changed your life, if you've watched me for a while, go leave a nice comment below with your story, because it might help another guy if he's reading it and he gets inspired to stick onto self-improvement. So there's 3 steps to making new high quality friends. Step 1 is how making friends has changed. And this is going to be so interesting. There's not going to be too much practical advice in this, so you could skip that if you're like short on time. But if you're anything like me, I think the intellectual breakdown that I'm about to make, I think you'll be like, oh shit, that's actually so interesting that like I've personally, like Hamza's thought of this, and like it's actually kind of true what he said. It's like my speculation for why loneliness has rose, and also why loneliness is going to be destroyed for a certain kind of person. Then also this the second step is getting yourself ready to have quality friendship. So I'm not just going to talk about self-improvement and social skills, but we're going to talk about how to set yourself up so that when you do make friends, you're actually going to make friends with people who are compatible with you, with the real you, and you genuinely like them without needing to like fake yourself or anything. And then step 3, we'll go over the actual like making and cultivating of good friendship. So, quick little plug. The top link in the description will be a link where you can sign up to my email newsletter, and you'll get emails that help you improve your life and become more attractive. This is like the quality of it. Basically, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I made this yesterday and I was like, oh shit, like I actually really, really think this is awesome. So if you're an intellectual guy and also you like to read and you want to get knowledge, and this is all written by me, no ghostwriter, I promise you, like literally word for word, I've written all of this. You get emails like this, like basically daily, and it's completely for free. You can just go sign sign up, you get emails like this, which you can read like with a nice cup of coffee, or when you're commuting, or maybe when you're on a rest break in the gym. I get your email, and a small percentage of the people whose emails I get will end up buying my product. So it's like a win-win for both of us. So go sign up with the link in the description right now, and you'll get emails like this sent to your inbox every day. You can read them, and they're like really practical breakdowns, really detailed, and I really think you'll end up liking them if you are this intellectual kind of guy. So let's go on to step one, how making friends has changed. We have a picture of a bunch of people in a church. Then we have like the sort of, the last 10 years or so where everyone's been so lonely, everyone's had such bad mental health, everyone's just been staring into their phones and screens. And then we have the new age, the new evolution of friendship. And this is like, what we're going to cover right now is going to be so interesting, because I really think you're going to be like, oh shit, this is such a good analysis. There's 3 evolutions of friendship. There's the old way, which was based on geographical location. There's the modern way, which is basically the rise of loneliness and parasocial relationships. And then there's the new way, which is internet communities who you then go meet up in real life. And we'll break this down. And there will be some practical lessons for you to use from this as well. So the old way of making friends was based on geographical location, which basically meant people used to be friends with whoever they lived close to. If you imagine back in the 1900s, transport was limited, travel was limited, not many people were traveling that much, we didn't have the internet, and so people were just making friends with whoever they went to school with or they went to church with. And also, naturally, everyone you became friends with, since they were in the same geographical area as you, also ended up basically getting indoctrinated in the same way. Everyone had the same knowledge and beliefs, because you would have only really been friends with someone that you went to school with or worked with or went to church with, because most people didn't travel that far and didn't have the internet. But then everyone basically had the same kind of content, which was newspaper and radio. Everyone consumed the same things. And so everyone had quite like a short, kind of like how to explain, but like everyone had the same beliefs. Beliefs weren't very challenged. You had to kind of be like the people next to you. And the truth was, loneliness at least seemed to be a lot lower back then, because you always had people around. Now, I've wrote also, it seems, just because there is a chance that it was just not reported, because a lot of data from the 1900s, 1800s isn't so reliable, because people were probably more likely to lie about certain things, like, for example, mental health problems, or, that they didn't have the awareness or the intellect to be able to define something as a mental health problem or loneliness. That's like a high IQ analysis I'm trying to make there. But basically, we do believe that loneliness was a lot less common back then, because you always had people around. You went to school, you went to church, you went to work, and you always worked with people who all consumed the same kind of knowledge from the education system, the media, the news, as you did. Another pro was potentially that, there was high standards, because you knew everyone. You knew who went to your church. You knew who went to your work. There was high standards. Like you wouldn't have wanted to be seen sloppy, because if you were walking outside of your house, you would have known everyone there. And so you would have basically had more of an image to keep up. And that can be a good thing. And also that this, it translated heavily to the dating market, where, for example, you didn't want to be seen as like a slut back then. So slut shaming was a thing, and slut shaming, I probably would argue, probably was a good thing for humanity, even though it sounds like kind of like a bad thing, because it just meant that like women were more restrained in their sexual exploration, which meant that they were more likely to pair bond with one man, and then monogamy was more taken seriously, which meant that men worked harder, because it was actually realistic for a man to, like an average looking man, to go and get married when he was like 19, 22 years old, and all he had was like a job basically, and so people were generally happier in relationships. Then the cons of the old geographical way, the kind of like, the social life that we almost look up to, like, oh yeah, they didn't have the internet. Well, the cons was that you had to become friends with people, not based on compatibility or interest, but just because they live close together. So how in the modern day, we often look back to like the old times and think, yeah, it was like so cool. Well, really, if you imagine this, like, imagine if you were slightly different. Imagine if you had like different beliefs, but the only people you could have been friends with is everyone who went to the same school as you, who's consumed the same radio show or something. And so you had to be friends with people, not because you liked them or that you were similar to them, but just because they were close by and that was your only option. Along with that, another con was that there's loads of pressure to conform. Imagine if you had like your own authentic purpose, like a mission that you felt you needed to go on, a particular work that you wanted to do, but you couldn't pursue that because of a lot of the social pressure for you to, for example, step into your father's shoes and do the same kind of work as him, because there was so much societal pressure to be a certain kind of way. And so if you're someone who naturally stands out, you would have been like quite heavily bullied, beaten, disrespected in this kind of place. And, imagine if like you couldn't have went to pursue your own authentic purpose because of that. An interesting con is that there likely would have been less black swan events. This is basically where something massive happens, almost like a wormhole in your self-improvement, which often happens because you've met someone or you've heard of something. So for example, let's say there is a wealthy businessman in the modern day. He's been grinding all of his life. He gets to 40 years old. He's got tens of millions. He's still grinding. He's sacrificing his health for it. And then he randomly walks past a spiritual girl and they end up falling in love. And that spiritual girl convinces him, like, wait, you've already made enough money. Now it's time to like level up this other part of your life. And he has a completely different trajectory of his life now because of this black swan event where he's met someone who was completely different to him. And you probably weren't going to get things like this happening back then when everyone was, you know, the same as you. Like everyone you knew relatively was the same as you. So that was a big con of like the old way of making friends. So we look up to this kind of like old school friendship. Yeah, they didn't have mobile phones. But honestly, I don't think now that you hear this, I don't think you'd want to go back, right? And so how the modern way has been is the lonely parasocial age, where basically for the last like 2 decades, because of a few things, everyone's just turned into like a complete social autist. The internet has made it so easy for people to stay inside and to just spend hours on their computers and phones because it's a lot more stimulating every single year. Like if you remember 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was like you had Sega, you had PS2 or something. You had like, you know, old games consoles and you had like the internet with these like, games that it was kind of normal to play video games for like an hour a day back then. But things have become so hyper stimulating, not just video games, but TV shows and the accessibility, that now it's kind of easy to stay inside and not actually feel relatively bored because you can just go onto Netflix and there's 100,000 TV shows on there. Along with this, also, there was a massive rise in propaganda about 10 years ago for what's called stranger danger. Basically, a lot of societies convinced parents that their children were in danger of being kidnapped and attacked by strangers. And this is it so interesting, you know, that this was basically like a massive psyop. And basically your parents were convinced to not let you go play outside because it's dangerous. When you look at the studies and the reports, strangers are actually not dangerous. How interesting is that? Like strangers are not dangerous. Like obviously, yeah, if you walk past a crackhead in like New York, yeah, probably. But in general, you're not going to get hurt by a stranger. In general, you are so much more likely to get hurt by someone you know, a family member, a friend, than a stranger. So it's just interesting. It was a massive psyop, and basically now it's kept people inside. Like if you're maybe my age, you'll remember the days, I'm 26, you'll remember the days where when we were children, we would go out for trick or treat, you know, for Halloween, and there'd be literally the streets were full of children. It was like so hype. You'd go and you'd get a whole bag full of sweets. These days, we barely get like one child who comes to the house, honestly. It's almost like disgraceful. Like when we first moved to this house in like 2008, my mom would buy a bunch of sweets and everything and would get so many children come, and you know, I would go out and she'd say, wow, like so many guys, it was so busy, so many kids came out. Now literally on Halloween, like often my mom will still go out and like, you know, she's like a nice woman, she'll go buy like stuff just in case there is some kid, and usually we'll get like one kid who comes, and so my mom just basically gives them the entire massive packet of like sweets or cakes or whatever that she's got for the trick-or-treaters, because no one else comes anymore, because even parents don't want to go trick-or-treating. Even like, think about it, even like 12-year-old kids, they'll feel too old to trick-or-treat now because they've got phones, they've got porn, they've got video games, right? So a lot of people have just grown up and matured, but maybe not in the right way. We also have the busy work culture where a lot of us are doing a lot of shallow work all day, every day, where when you come back from work or you're a businessman, you're still working at 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. because you feel oddly productive. Or if you're not doing this shallow, busy work, then you're often just like on the internet anyway and just consuming content and everything. And also the cost of living as well. That's actually made loneliness worse because it's just kind of expensive to like leave your house. Like these days, if you leave your house, you almost just automatically spend like 10, 20 pounds just by accident. And if you want to go do something social with someone who you're not at the level where they can just come over, then it's like, what are you going to do if you go to the pub in the UK, for example? Like a pint of beer is like £4, £5. That's like people's like half an hour of their life that they've just traded in work for that one drink. Obviously, like I don't drink, I don't go to the pub or anything, but like you get my point. It's not as like practical to go outside anymore. Like, for example, cinemas used to be like the hot spot. They used to be filled and it used to be hype. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of cinemas are dying because it's just too expensive and people would rather just go on Netflix by themselves because it's really comfortable. And so all these reasons, along with others, has just made like loneliness in the modern day so prevalent. And you probably feel this as well. As much as you hate these things and you're thinking, yeah, you know, these things have ruined the world. Let me just grab the metaphorical mirror, put it in front of you, because you are also like antisocial because of these things, right? So it's interesting. We hate these things because we're looking outward and thinking, yeah, you know, people don't want to be social anymore. But motherfucker, you're not social because of these things as well. So you've seen that it has impacted you. You're spending more time indoors. You're spending more time doing like busy fake work. By all means, do your deep work. You know, it's 6 a.m. right now. I'm recording this video. This is my deep work. It really moves the needle along. But at like 5 p.m., and, you know, I've been up for like 12 hours, 14 hours or something. At that time, it's like I'm not really doing deep work, or I'm just kind of like comfortable on my computer, opening and closing Discord and going on random websites and stuff and still calling it work. So just be careful, because you are probably doing like using these things as an excuse yourself to not be more social. We will break down how you can basically overcome these. And because of all these reasons, most social experiences have been online, with, this is so interesting, the masses creating a parasocial relationship with influencers. So for the past decade or so, this has been like the social life of most people. It's been parasocial relationships with influencers and celebrities. What that means is parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party is completely unaware of the other person's existence. So this is, for example, being like honestly, you really, like being someone who watches someone stream in the movies, especially with the rise of like TikTok and lifestyle creation and, you know, more people creating content. There's so much social experience, which is one-sided, which is the consumer just in masses, in hordes, watching the creator. And so this, in a very like fucked up small way, scratches the itch of your like social need. It doesn't do it enough because you still feel lonely and it's not like satisfying, but it's kind of like it's enough to not go insane. It's enough to, like, you know, you're bored and you click on like another Hamza video or someone else video, and or like you watch TV shows and you've got like a little bit of a bond between the characters, or little simps watch like titty streamers on like Twitch or something, and they create like a connection between them. They send money, they know the inside jokes and everything. This has been most people's social experience in the last 10 years, and it's really sad because it's not healthy and it's not a real social life. So what are the pros of the modern way, the lonely parasocial relationship? Well, maybe the pro is like it's extremely comfortable. If that's like comfort usually isn't even a good thing anyway, it just kind of makes you weak. So that's the only pro I could think of, and it's cheap as well. It's basically free for most people, or very, very affordable. That could be another pro I could have there. What are the cons? Well, it's still extremely lonely. It's not really scratching the itch. It's not real social connection because it's all parasocial relationships. So most people's, you know, social connection these days is just watching their favorite content creator. And it's also, another con is like, it's like the bad dopamine, it's ADHD, it's the content consumption that like fucks up your attention span, and, you know, it fucks up your dopamine receptors. And so it's not really healthy for your mind either. And you'll find that your mind will wander a lot more if you watch a lot of content. And so there's quite a lot of quite dangerous cons with the way most people are running their social life, which really is just, they go to school, they don't really talk to anyone, they go to the gym, they don't really talk to someone, they come home, they make their food, bring it to the desk, and then stick on their favorite like content creator. This is most people's social lives these days, and it's very sad. This is the lonely way. Then the next one is the new way, which I believe the new evolution of friendship will be through internet communities which are based on interest, and then those communities meeting up in person. And I think there's one website that's going to lead this charge. This is the website that I'm personally on. Like, I'm actually wearing their, I didn't even plan to do this, but I'm wearing their shirt right now. My business is hosted on this website called School. Basically, it's where entrepreneurs can create an online community based on, like, you know, their interest of self-improvement or of gardening, whatever. And then they can charge for it. And suddenly, like, we'll bring this down, but suddenly it gives so much more it's just very interesting what it's done to social life. We'll break it down, but yeah, like, so this is a community. I have like 2,000 members, and every now and then I'll do like some meetups where we all meet online, but we also talk online a lot. This is one that this is the most recent one we've just done in Vegas. And I wasn't even really supposed to do this one, but I only announced it with like 30 hours in advance. Here's like Max's dad there. He's 13 years old. They drove for like 30 hours. Basically, I announced it and they basically got into the car and his dad drove him to this. So you can see that there's even like a range of ages that come. Here's my cameraman in the back. Here's Kyle. Here's like my boys who were just able to come very quickly. They traveled 20, 30 hours to just come see me and just have like a few hours together. And then I brought them, to the restaurant in my hotel, got everyone lunch and everything. This is everyone meeting in the UK. We just climbed up Mount Snowdon. This was actually, the most recent meetup. This was just a few weeks ago, and this is me like flexing in front of my friend there. So this is the new age, and just mark my words before we go forward. Just let me just create a prediction for the future. This website, it's going to go fucking massive. It's like the early days of Facebook, where like if you get in now, it's fucking huge. This is going to single-handedly change how humans make friends and make connections. I'm quite sure of it. Like it's just making friends, but on steroids, and it just makes so much sense. And we'll break down why these like internet communities, especially these paid internet communities, are going to transform the lives of so many people. So you probably understand what it means, right? So you join an internet community, which is, for example, like my private Discord server, kind of like that, right? And potentially then you'll go meet in real life to actually create that connection. So here's the pros of it. The pro of this kind of thing is that the leader is incentivized through entrepreneurship. When I make this school community and I make it paid, suddenly I'm incentivized to be social and to create a community. Because beforehand, to basically around here, there was no incentive. Like in the last 2 decades, there was no real incentive for anyone to go and take that. There was no real incentive for anyone to go and take the step of being like the leader of a social group and, to go to clubs and stuff, because things were so expensive and the leader's going to have to organize shit. But by the leader, I mean, the guys organizing the social events. There was no like incentive for anyone to take that role. And so everyone took more of like this sort of softer approach where like we've all roughly been waiting for someone who's more social to kind of invite us into the fun, but there's almost no one doing that. In this modern day, when you can make like a paid internet community, suddenly the leader, who's often an entrepreneur, gets incentivized because basically I make money from my paid community. And you could argue this is bad because people will say like, oh, but you make money from like, people who are feeling lonely. Yeah, sure. But the thing is, now more people are actually taking this leadership position. They weren't before. Now, like when a potential like entrepreneur-minded person sees a website like school and says, wait, I could make money by connecting people together and helping them make friends. Suddenly there'll be a guy who'll work fucking hard to make that happen. Whereas if it was all for free, you wouldn't work as hard because that leader wouldn't be getting paid for it. And then, he's got his own cost of living crisis to go worry about. So I actually think it's like really fucking smart. You've monetized the effort that someone will put into connecting people together. And also a massive pro of these internet style communities is you make friends based on interest and values, not on the geographical location. Think about that. When you join an internet community, you don't join one that's for your city, right? Like be honest, have you joined a Discord server that's like your city's one? Probably not, right? The Discord servers that you've joined, maybe the school communities that you've joined, imagine schools kind of like Discord but on steroids. Those ones that you join, you don't join them based on geographical location, you join them based on interest. And so suddenly when you join, it's not just that like the person who's in there has a similar postcode to you, but it's rather that they have the same weird, super niche interests as you. So inside of this is my community, we did an event in London. Everyone's fucking jacked, everyone's fit, everyone's athletic, everyone talks like me, everyone's like masculine, everyone's loud, everyone goes to the gym, everyone is making an online business. And so when you join, you're like, oh shit, like everyone is very similar to me now. Wow. It's not just that, we met because we all live in the same 2-mile radius around the church, but rather we met because of our interests, or rather all these guys met because of their interest in my videos, and then I connected them in this community. And another pro is that travel is actually the cheapest and most accessible ever. Lots of people are making money online, which means that like it's actually so cheap and actually feasible for loads of people to travel, so that when you meet people in these online communities, you actually genuinely have a real possibility to go meet them in real life, because we're not close geographically. But when you join an online community, and you're based on interest of people with similar values, it's not unrealistic to think, oh, damn, like I could actually afford the flight to like this meetup that they're about to have. I could afford the flight or the train or whatever to go meet this person that I've connected with really well, because travel is so accessible. And also because we have the most amount of people making money online, which of course makes travel more accessible because you can still work whilst you travel. It's actually possible to turn internet friendships into real life meetups. The cons of these like internet communities is there's lots of internet use. It can still be a bad habit that distracts you from your goals because, you're still using an internet community. You could spend too long on the Discord server or whatever. And another con is that it feels kind of weird with the leader monetizing it. Again, it's like there's an entrepreneur who's put it together, which makes sense. The entrepreneur provides value. That's how the world has always worked with business. But it just kind of feels a bit weird when the entrepreneur is providing value in the term of like human connection, because isn't that something that's not supposed to be monetized? Well, yeah, but when it wasn't monetized, people just weren't doing it anyway. So it's like we really do need like manpower to create something like this to happen where people join together, and most people won't step up to that unless if there's some kind of benefit for the leader who's putting in that effort. And also, what I thought is like, isn't it what happens in like countries and clubs anyway, where the leader monetizes it? When you think about your government, it's like they've basically brought people together in your country, and they have to make money by taxing people, by, getting money, a little bit of money from everyone so that the country can function well. It's like, I think I wrote somewhere. Oh, I'll talk to you later about like this analogy I made, which is quite strong. But this is, in my opinion, the strongest way to meet very like-minded friends is the new way where you join internet communities and then you go meet up those like-minded people in real life. You can also just like, stay online, but I would recommend if you go create the real life meetup. And imagine you go meet like a good friend that you speak to all the time, like 3-4 times a year, and you guys basically travel together and you have like holidays together. And throughout that time, you speak online as well, and you've got each other on like texting, on calls and everything. And I think this is just the strongest way to make friends that we've seen. And it's all down to this one website, which I am actually the number one creator on this website as well. So how can you use the 3 evolutions of friendship to your advantage? The old, the modern, and the new? Well, if you're just trying to make friends in your geographical location, you're playing the old game. So most people who, when they're searching up like social advice, like on YouTube, like maybe like how you are, you're probably playing the old game where you're trying to just make friends with people in real life, who live close to you. And it sounds cooler, right? It sounds like, oh yeah, well, go meet people in real life instead of meeting like people on the internet, because on the internet doesn't really count. But the truth is, if you're just trying to meet people in your location, you might not find anyone who's actually similar to you. Like you could go to the gym and go find someone who's in the gym, and that's awesome. But then when you speak to them, you realize, wait, like, yeah, they go to the gym, but they've got nothing else in common with me. It's like we're so different. And that's if you even make friends in the gym anyway. It's so cool and easy to say that. But like, how many gym friends do you really have who you've like really connected with and created like this insane like bond with? Probably not many, right? So it's so easy for us to say like, yeah, bro, just go join a martial arts club. But often when a young man follows that advice, you still don't really get great friends, because even though you have one overlapping interest, your personality, your values, your interests, your goals is so different that there's still like a bit of a split between you being able to connect with this person. So if you're basically playing the old game, like you're playing the game on handicap if you only rely on your geographical location. And if you're lonely and you're just making parasocial relationships, basically if you're like the modern day guy who's just watching like social media content and feeling in some ways like socially connected with the person you watch, well then obviously they don't know you and you won't be satisfied either. So I think we need to do both. I think what we need is the geographical location, because that can still be nice if you go to the gym and try and speak to some people. But I also think that joining a new age internet community is a very strong way to go and meet people who are like-minded as you. So the action step that I'd suggest at this point is go find a school community. School's the website that I'm personally on, which has members who share a lot of your values. Mine probably does, so you could consider joining my paid school group if you want to. It's called Adonis School. There's no pressure though. But there's also others as well where you might find there's other people who, you have a lot of similarities to. I think that if you just join a good school community, you'll find that basically like you won't have to think about making friends again, because you'll just be satisfied immediately when you're surrounded with people who have similar interests in you in this kind of platform where you get to talk to each other and you get to post and comment and message each other. And then the question comes, wait, should you pay for an internet community? Because it seems kind of weird. up until you realize that paying for access has always been a thing. Powerful men used to donate to the church and they'd get status and they'd be amongst the higher ups. Powerful men pay for high-end golf clubs and health clubs to be around other powerful men who can afford to pay too. So here's the thing. People will tell you, wait, you can just join free ones. Don't pay for it. And the truth is, yeah, you can join free communities. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I have a free and a paid community. People in the free community are literally just less serious. They're lower quality. It's just how it is than the paid community. Because I want you to visualize this right now. Imagine a gym in your city which just has open doors and you can just go in there for free. Really imagine that right now. Now I'm at this gym where everyone from your city can just go. It's free. Imagine what the toilets look like in there. It's going to be dirty as fuck. Imagine how disrespectful people are going to be where they'll use the weight and then they'll just leave it on the floor because it was for free. They don't give a fuck. They just randomly walked in. And imagine, like, if it's free, then the people who are running it can't afford to fix the gym equipment. So randomly, you go in there thinking, oh yeah, well, it's free. Like, I don't have to pay for a gym. But then the equipment doesn't even fucking work properly. There's like scratches everywhere. There's a fight happening. The toilets are dirty as fuck and they stink. And there's like literally shit that hasn't been cleaned from like 2 days because they can't afford a cleaner, right? Because it all has to be free. So suddenly it's like, it sounds awesome to say like, oh yeah, but all of this should be free. But if it was free, like a free gym would be so shit, wouldn't it? Obviously, there's free gyms out there which aren't like this, but they're kind of still gatekeeped and locked where, for example, it's not really free, but you've got to be part of like the university or something, and then you get free access. That's a little bit different because you still are paying for the university. But if you imagine a full-on free gym in the city where everyone could walk into, it'd be stinky as fuck. Now, be honest, would you want to walk in there and try and befriend the people in there? Fuck no. So my answer is to the question, should you pay for an internet community? I think fuck yes. I think this might have one of the highest return on investments for your money because the value of having people who are similar to you based on your interest is really fucking high. And also, here's an extra point. The more expensive it is to you joining like some kind of community, in general, the higher level and also the more committed the members are inside of there. So if you are looking, you're thinking, okay, internet communities sound good, and if they've got the possibility to meet up in person, that's awesome. Then you're thinking, okay, I'll go join some free ones first. Just know that a free community will not reflect like anywhere close to how much a paid community will help you, because people who join a free community aren't going to be as serious. They're like the equivalent of people who go to the gym like once a week or twice a week and they're not serious. And if you go and join like the most serious gym in your neighborhood, in your area, and it's like 5 times more expensive and you've got like professional bodybuilders and stuff, suddenly you'll realize like, oh shit, people here are high quality. They're really serious about training. And then interestingly, you'll make more gains in that kind of environment. So my answer is like, even though obviously I'm biased because I sell a community and I'm obviously hoping that you buy my one, fuck yes, I think you should look to invest into an internet community, because that's where like a lot of the best social experiences are happening right now. Not just because it's online, because obviously that's not like real social connection, but rather because of the best internet communities go meet up in person. And so you talk online, you're all like, you know, in grind mode, you're all working, you're all like learning together, you all have very similar goals and values. And then you go and meet each other and you're like, oh shit, like you're the guy I've been talking to for the past 3 months. Like, you know, you're meeting up in person. So I actually really am like, fuck yes about paying for a internet community and actually making it like expensive, because you'll just attract higher tier people. So yeah, that's my little weird half pitch, but I genuinely believe that. And I think that if you're not blinded by hate of an entrepreneur, like you look at me and you're thinking like, oh, this guy's just trying to sell his program. If you're not blinded by that ignorance and you're thinking, you know what, he's actually made good arguments. And of course, why do you think I've made the good arguments? Or sorry, why do you think I sell my product, my program, my community? Because I do genuinely believe that everything I've just said, that's why I sell this as a paid community. That's why the only one product I have is a paid community, because I see that not only is it like an educational product that makes me money, but it also connects people together. They learn and they get to have community and friendship. So I think it's like a win-win. And this has been like you can say it's a pitch, but it's half, honestly. I just genuinely do believe that this is where like the friendships are being made these days. By all means, you can keep following the same advice you hear on YouTube, like go to a martial arts gym and go to the gym and try that out. And 100% you could still meet some friends. But really, you'll meet the guys who are the closest to you when you basically just join the paid community of someone who you really like and look up to. So if you've watched like 500 of my videos or 100 of my videos, most likely you're so similar to the other guys inside of my community that like you'd actually really get along and you'd have a reason to to, make friends with the people there. So the next step then is getting yourself ready to have quality friendships. And there's 3 things we'll cover in this section, which is authenticity, season of life, and social skills. So let's start with authenticity. What we want is for you to make friends with people who you're actually compatible with. Like, we want people who like the real you, because it's so easy to put on a persona when you're trying to make friends and try and act harder. Like, harder is like, I don't know, it's like a UK term, but try and act like cooler or more of a certain way than you actually are. And I see this in my own community as well. Like, I'll see guys come in and they'll try and act like more like me than I can tell they actually are, because they want to try and fit in. But what you're going to do is only attract like basically people who aren't even compatible with the real you. The skill of human relationships, whether it's to male friends or to a woman that you want to date, is to try and be as 100% as authentically the real you as you can, so that way their response to you is, of course, so natural, and it's the real response to you. Because imagine if, for example, there's a guy that you want to go be friends with in the gym, right? And imagine if you go up to him and you almost have this persona of a guy who's kind of cooler or more disciplined than you actually are. And imagine if you guys don't even really get along and you're like, oh, damn, like, he seems so cool. It would have been so good to be friends with him. And it just doesn't seem like he actually likes you. He wasn't very receptive. He didn't take your number, whatever. Imagine if that same guy could have been so compatible with the real you if you just had the courage to show him. Imagine if you've just lost out on like a genuine best friend who you would have had a very strong like human connection with, because he was being authentic and you weren't, and you and him authentically would have connected. But since you were wearing a persona and trying to be like a different kind of guy, you weren't compatible with each other. You just lost out on someone that you could have actually been with. And now let's say best case scenario, you wear this persona and you find someone who kind of fits with the persona. They don't even like the real you. It's like you have to always pretend to be someone that you're not. And so there's a split as well, because obviously like there's a persona where you're pretending to be completely different. And then there's also just putting in effort to be the best version of you. I think a lot of people on the internet don't really understand this. Like, I've said this a bunch of times, and the amount of times I'll have people who disagree with me and be like, oh, you shouldn't basically put in effort. Basically what I've said is, especially with girls, you should be like putting in a lot of effort. That means like don't get complacent next to people. That means like be a little bit more disciplined when you're like trying to like impress your girl. When you like, let's say you're going on a first date with a girl, dress to impress, look nice, don't fucking burp on the date, like, like have the sexy attitude, like really try and practice your like eye contact, really breathe deeply and try and be present. That's still authentic because it's still you, it's still the real you. It's just the you 2.0. It's you like trying to put in good effort, right? That makes sense, right? But a lot of people on the internet start thinking like, oh, but you're just, that's inauthentic. I don't think so. This authenticity is being the real you, and also that includes putting in effort to be the best version of you. Inauthenticity is basically when you're being someone who's completely different. So that would be me, for example, like not telling a joke when I wanted to tell a joke. That's inauthentic. That's like, okay, you're not showing the real version of you. So the best case scenario when you're not authentic is you're just attracting fake friends who aren't even compatible with the real you. And I think this is a point of improvement for a lot of young men that I personally see. A lot of them find it very difficult to be authentic because of fear. And so they start like just acting in this fake way where, like I said, the best case scenario is that you meet people who aren't even compatible with you. And the worst case scenario is like you lost out on the people who would have actually liked the real you. And also, honestly, it's like people can see through this. It's like when I see guys who are trying a little bit too hard with the sort of discipline, David Goggins type of thing next to me because they think I'd be impressed by that. It's actually, it reeks of insecurity, whereas sometimes I'll see a guy who quite frankly is a bit of a Jeffrey, like a bit of a loser, but he's kind of authentic with it, and he's still like, he's a likable guy, he's still funny, and it's like, I like him, I'll be friends with him. In fact, like my best friend for a few years was basically like a complete and utter like Jeffrey. He was on antidepressants and everything, but I loved the guy because he was just authentic with it. He never tried to be someone he wasn't, and so he was a likable person, even though we were like very different in the levels that we had gotten to in like self-improvement. And when I meet kids, like a lot of kids, they'll try and do like a bit of a persona of like, like a deep voice, and they'll try and like mog me. They'll try and have like body language. They'll try and say things that they think will impress me. Like, oh yeah, by the way, Hamza, I'm going to compete with you. And it's just fucking cringe. It's like, bro, like you don't talk like that in person. Relax, man. Like just, I'm off duty, man. We're in public and stuff. There's hot girls next to me. Let's tone down the fucking internet shit. The internet shit is like, it's not probably is a bit of a persona that I put on when I make my like aggressive videos and I'm talking about, yeah, you know, I'm dominating other guys and stuff. I don't often talk like that in person. Like in person, I talk like this. I'm not putting on a deep voice. And generally I'm quite a happy and smiley kind of guy. And if you saw me in person, I guarantee I'd be like moving around all over the place. I'd be telling jokes and giggling. And if I saw you stood next to me trying to do your alpha male thing, like I wouldn't be friends with you after that, because I'd be like, oh yeah, he's not at that stage where he's actually like comfortable with himself, and it's kind of ugly to be around a guy like that. So it's very important that you can add in more of this authenticity where you can just be yourself, and you want to find people who are compatible with the real you, but who obviously still push you forward. So how do you be authentic? You need to have the courage to be yourself. Courage is the skill of feeling fear, but doing it anyway. There is always going to be a bit of fear to be yourself because we're scared of judgment. So I want you to imagine right now, you're a black guy who's got the kind of like UK London slang, and you wear like puffer jacket and, you know, like almost like roadman style clothing, right? We take this black guy and we put him in the middle of like a white British pub full of like old, middle-aged, like kind of racist white guys who are drinking beers. It'd be so easy for this black guy right now to start like becoming a chameleon to try and fit in here, to randomly say like a racist joke, even though he doesn't want to do that. It'd be so easy to. So that's why it's like, we wouldn't judge him for that, because it, like, you know, don't be like a dickhead. Like really, like that'd be a fucking terrifying, like quite scary situation to be in, right? If you're like thrust in the middle of people who generally like aren't going to be nice to you, right? Like obviously there's exceptions, whatever, but like it's just kind of like understand that there'll be a lot of fear in being yourself, especially in certain areas where you know that you're going to be challenged, or you know that you generally won't be liked by others. And so this is why most people aren't authentic, because they don't have enough courage. Courage is you when you think, okay, fuck it, like if I just show the real me, it's only a win-win, because if I show the real me and they don't like me, well, then they just simply didn't like me. And it's okay, because it's unlikely that everyone I meet would actually be compatible with the real me, right? That's a very like strong thought to have. It's unlikely that everyone you meet will be actually compatible with the real you. So if you have the courage to be yourself, and you have this mindset where you're like, yeah, you know, on average, most people aren't going to like me because it's just, you know, it's the law of probability. That's fine. But if I have the courage to be myself, anyone who likes me actually likes me. And that's so sweet. And that's actually like so amazing. If you try and act a little bit different in whatever way, suddenly it's like you've lowered the fear, but the success has also lowered, because you'll still get people who don't like you. You'll get people who do like you, but they like this fake version of you. And so there's like basically a loss-loss either way. So it's safer for you to act in a different way. It's safer for you to pretend to be someone that you're not, especially based on whoever's next to you. But there's no win in that whatsoever. So you just need to be courageous to be yourself. And also you need to have standards for yourself, because many guys don't have this. You need to have standards for yourself, and also think, wait, there's people who you probably don't like or want to be around as well. This is one of the things, like, it's a skill that I had to learn myself in the last few years, where I had to like I found myself being too friendly to everyone, you know, like almost like fake social skills where you're trying to be an amazing listener. And I found myself like deep into conversations with people I didn't respect or like, you know, like some middle-aged guy who's basically a fucking loser, who drinks, who doesn't like, who I don't respect, and he'll be yapping on in this arrogant way, thinking that he's all that, and like, you know, just like trying to teach me lessons. Like, and I'm a guy with humility. I have a student mindset. I know if there's someone I can learn from, but I don't like the phrase like, oh, there's something you can learn from everyone. But basically, I've had like, you know, middle-aged guys who don't know whatever the fuck they're saying. I'm like 100 times more successful than they are in basically every area, but they'll like be yapping and yapping. So now it's got to the point when I see the same kind of guys, like I won't even say hello to them. I won't even have like a good conversation because I don't like them. And that sounds offensive. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's so like, that's, you know, Dale Carnegie would be disappointed. Yes, but I have my own standards. I don't want to be with anyone who I feel like wastes my time and talks too much and doesn't say anything valuable for me. And that sounds like heartless, but that's at least my value. It's like I like being around people who are funny, who are, you know, have a certain personality that vibes with mine. And now I have the standard where if someone, I don't like someone, then I won't spend time with them. And if they keep fucking yapping, I'll literally just stand up and fucking leave. And, you know, I won't be a dickhead. I won't insult them, but I'll say it politely as well. Oh, sorry, bro, gotta go. But I won't like sit around to just be like entertain someone who I don't like. And that this comes from the courage to be yourself, and also the courage to like and dislike whoever you actually like and dislike. And most guys don't have this. Most guys don't have the courage to be themselves. And most guys also don't have the standards to like acknowledge whether they like someone or not. Because look, here's the thing. Some people will be too cold for you. Some people will just yap too much. And this is the painful one. Some people will be just too low value, too low quality. There's a lot of people who basically like, they don't know anything. They don't learn at all. They haven't read a single book. They barely even exercise or do healthy habits. They just drink and watch bullshit, and they've got nothing interesting to say. And when you meet someone like that, it's like, it would be the more respectful, like I would respect you more if you didn't have a fake conversation with them where you were pretending to be interested in them. Even the Dale Carnegie, like How to Win Friends and Influence People social advice, is it literally said like, you shouldn't have insincere flattery. You shouldn't like basically fake this interest. You should find people you're genuinely interested in, and then use like the social skills, like things that you've learned, like, you know, being a good listener, smiling, eye contact on them. But if there's someone you genuinely are not interested in, don't fake that interest as well, because again, you're just being inauthentic, and you're creating this like fake connection with this other person who thinks they're connecting with you, when actually you're thinking in your mind like, he said fucking nothing of interest. So I'll be in like social settings, I'll be in business settings, and when someone's saying some bakwas, like some bullshit which just isn't valuable, my brain will tune off. And I've finally got to the point which I like that I'm at, where I just won't listen. I'll walk away, I'll turn my head the other way and like get into a different conversation. And I'm glad that I can do that, because I used to pay so much attention to people who I wasn't compatible with, who I could tell had nothing that like I wanted to like talk about. And so it's like, why would you fake yourself and put yourself in? I know so many people will disagree with this, but they're often the people who don't even have good social skills and don't even have friends anyway. So like, this is coming from a guy who I have a really good social life, and I have people I really like, and I almost have like too many friends, and I often need to take a step back so I can focus on my work. And so if you disagree with what I'm saying, by all means, you can go and be the friendly guy who's you know, taking an interest in everyone. But it's like this fake, if you genuinely are interested in people, go ahead. But if it's like this fake thing where you're not interested in them, but you're almost doing this fake social skills to pay attention, that's not helping anyone. Like, that's not you being a good person. That's not you leveling up your social skills. Like, if you're genuinely, authentically don't like this other person, and you can tell that they've got nothing that you really value or respect, don't be disrespectful, but also don't fake this interest and this like fake eye contact connection, because you're literally just being inauthentic again. It also matters about what season of life you're in, because sometimes you need to go into this like solo monk mode season, which might give you more growth. But also sometimes you might need to go into more of the social season. So it depends, like, what is the big goal for this season of your life right now? Like, when I was in university, the big goal for me wasn't to work. It was actually my social and sexual life. And so that's like the things that I focused on. For business, often you don't need to be social. So when in 2020, when I got into business, I realized like I didn't actually have to be very social to level up as a businessman. I just needed to sit down and do the work every single day. And so my social life in some ways suffered, but I didn't actually mind that much. And so, for example, like, it's important for you to acknowledge this. If your biggest goal right now is business and making money, maybe you don't want to be pushing so far ahead in like friendships and social life right now, because you're just not really in the season of life where you might give a shit about it. Now, you could also be in the season of life where you care about it, like I have been before. And that's, of course, when you should be putting in more effort, and you should be like, you know, really getting ready and taking a step into developing these social relationships. In terms of social skills, there's a few things I teach you, and I just don't think that you need to go through all the autistic things of like, you know, fake the interest or whatever. But there's a few things I've found that have helped a lot more with social skills. I think kindness and happiness, like basically being in a good mood, is very like intoxicating. It's very like contagious. Like, people love being around a happy person. I found that when I'm in a happy mood and I'm smiling, people are literally like 5 times more likely to want to be with me, including girls as well, which is so interesting, because I thought girls would have liked that more like dark, serious vibe where, you know, you're being proper serious. What I found is, like, even for guys and girls, when I'm in like a smiley mood, I get approached more often. And also when I do approach, I see that people are so much more receptive than if I was in that more like serious, cold kind of mood. And so if you can put yourself in a happy position and you can just be like kind to people, you know, like give some kind of value to people, you'll find that like you'll become very attractive socially. So happiness, like for example, in the gym a few weeks ago, I was just in this like happy, smiley mood. I spoke to this one girl, a cold approacher basically in the gym, and had a little bit of a conversation with her, but she was like about to start seeing someone fine. And then there's this girl on the Smith's machine, and I walk up to her and say like, "Oh, how many sets do you have left?" And she went, "Oh, I'm just like done. I was basically just like wasting time, on my phone and stuff. I was just tired." So me and her start laughing, and she's like, "You're in like a really happy mood. It's so nice to see." And I said, "Well, that's like such a good compliment." And now I see the girl in the gym all the time, and like we were always smiling at each other, saying hello. And it's like, it's a nice little relationship, like not a real relationship, but it's a nice little like person that you've got in the gym that you say hello to and stuff. Just because I was in a happy mood. If that day I wasn't in a happy mood, I probably wouldn't have connected with this girl who was also a happy girl, as much if I was in that serious mood. So suddenly that just got me like a new, like kind of like a gym acquaintance, which is nice. Kindness is like you doing basically happy like things that make other people happy. So there's moments of kindness, which like after my gym workout, I go and get like a protein shake from the little bar thing downstairs. And I'll always get one for my friend that I train with. And one time I was training with a friend and I didn't even tell him I was getting him one. I got it, just passed it to him, and he went like, "Oh bro, that's so nice of you. Thank you so much." It's like, that put me in a better mood. And like whether he acknowledged it or not, would have liked me more because of that day. And also I would have as well, because we just had this shared experience of like, breaking bread and giving stuff to each other. Along with that, destroying awkwardness. This is probably the number one killer of your social life right now, is you're just kind of awkward. Like you care too much. You're not relaxed. You're not having a good time. You're overthinking about too much shit. I don't want you to get into a social situation and be there trying to like do your little alpha male body language, manner, affirmations and all this stuff. Instead, the biggest thing you can do is destroy awkwardness. Take fucking deep breaths. Take some deep breaths. Speak in this happy way where you're actually enjoying yourself. Do the things that you actually enjoy. A lot of this will come down to authenticity. And you'll find that if you just have these three things, you'll meet people who are far more not just compatible, but also happier. And also you'll feel like you want more social experiences as well. I find that so many guys in our space do too much of this like cold-hearted like persona, and then don't end up enjoying themselves in a social situation. And you've got to understand that's not me. Like often I speak about very deep things on YouTube. I speak about like, men's mental health and relationship problems. And so often you see me in quite like an aggressive way where I'm ranting and I'm giving like this motivational speech. But in general, when you actually, if you saw me in real life, you'd see that I'm almost always in a fairly happy mood. And that makes me quite attractive to other people. And so I'd want you to step into this. Now, if you don't have to fake the happiness, if you're not like generally a happy person, that's fine. But like I am, and I know for a fact that's why so many people like to like enter my life, because you can see that I'm having a good time with or without them anyway. And it's just so contagious, so attractive for other people when they see like a man who's having a good time, because people just want to join in with that as well. So if you just have these things, you'll feel like your social skills are so much better, and it just skips all the cringe kind of autistic steps of like social skills, like body language and eye contact and all the specific things. If you just have these, you'll have a good time in all social situations. So that's the second step to making new high quality friends complete. And the third step we're on is making and cultivating friendship. Here we have my gym friends. Oh, that's actually the protein shake I got him that day. Actually, that's the friend I just randomly passed it to. And he was like, "Oh, bro, that's so kind of you." Here's me attempting 140 kg bench press, 3 plates. I didn't hit it though, but I'm getting closer and closer. I can do 135 at the moment, but that's a big accomplishment, being able to bench press 3 plates. And then here's me with the Adonis Schoolboys. We just did that hike in Snowdon. So there's 3 steps to making and cultivating friendship. There's the first contact, there's conversations, and then there's meeting in real life and doing an activity together. So for the first contact, whether it's online or it's in person, imagine there's a stranger there that you're thinking, "Oh, he looks kind of cool. I want to, see if we could be friends." What I would suggest is you be the initiator. The initiator is the person who basically starts the contact. Most of us, the reason why we're struggling is because we just haven't started enough of the potential like first conversation. Because if you admit it, if I asked you right now, like, what are you hoping for? Like, why haven't you taken more action? You probably find it hard to admit, but the thing that we're all hoping for is that someone else does the hard work. Someone else invites us into it. Someone else is the initiator. That's what we're hoping for. And what's interesting is everyone's hoping for that. Everyone's hoping for the initiator, like, basically the cool guy to walk up and say, "Oh, hey, bro, like, haven't seen, like, introduce himself and basically say, here's fun stuff that we do. Would you like to join in? Everyone's waiting for someone to be like that towards them. I would suggest you be that person, because then you always have that skill. The initiator is, for example, like the guy who'll walk up to the other guy, give him a compliment, and then end up inviting him to do a workout together. I literally just did that, and I'm about to do a workout with 2 guys today at 9 a.m. because I was the initiator. I walked up to someone and had the conversation with him. So there's 3 ways to speak to a stranger in public. You can go up and give them a compliment. So you could walk up to a guy, fist bump him and say, "Oh, yes, bro, I've seen you in the gym. You train hard." You could say, "Yes, bro, your physique's looking sick, man. You should be proud of yourself." You can say stuff like that. I've made friends just by giving that compliment. And it's not like as hard as it seems. You just say it. The person's always grateful. Give them a little fist bump, and then just change into a normal conversation. What's your name, by the way? Like, we've not spoke. "Oh yeah, my name's Hamza. Yeah, like what are you training today?" "Oh yeah, bro, we should hit a workout together because I always see you training hard. It'd be so good to train with someone who's quite serious." That's it. That's all it really takes. You can have a funny conversation, like whatever, but like that's really all it takes. The inner dialogue is a way to speak to strangers. Basically, like you just say whatever was on your mind, and you just kind of like just risk it and just say it. So, for example, someone's doing an exercise in the gym, you walk up and literally say like, "Oh bro, I was doing this exercise last week and I got like this weird injury," or "I was doing this exercise, I saw someone else do this exercise and I was trying to think of like how, like what is it even train," whatever's like literally on your mind. So you could be genuinely like whatever is your mind is saying, you could just invite the other person into hearing it and just seeing if they find it interesting. Some people will. And so sometimes I'll say this where I'll like, if I make eye contact with someone in the gym and I'm tired, I'll literally just say like, "Oh, tired today." I'll say that and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, me too, bro." Like that's all it takes. You can just be that like that simple. You don't have to compliment them. You don't have to like say anything proper. You could literally just look towards someone and say something like how you're feeling, like how you are feeling. So like I'll say like, "Oh, tired today. Oh man, I'm feeling weak today." That's like that's it. And people will like take an interest in it because you said it with some confidence. And also the innocent question, this is probably the worst one in my opinion, but it's also the easiest one, is you basically pretend like you need to know something. So you walk up to someone and say, "Excuse me, bro, can you like watch my stuff whilst I go to the toilet? Or can you make sure no one jumps in my machine when I go to the toilet? Or excuse me, do you know where the store is? My phone just died and I'm trying to find it. Excuse me, do you know what time it is? My phone died, I'm trying to find it." You can do that and then try and transform it into a real friendship. And I've done that before. So for example, I've went up to like a guy in the gym and said like, "Oh, excuse me, bro, I'm just gonna go to the toilet. Can you mind my stuff?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, of course." Done. Okay. So I go to the toilet. I didn't need the toilet, so I just stood in there for like 10 seconds. And then came back upstairs. I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for minding my stuff. What's your name, by the way?" And then started the conversation from there. What I would suggest is just go with one of the first 2. This one you can do, and it's probably like kind of the easiest one to do, but it's also, in my opinion, kind of like the most inauthentic, kind of fake cringe one. But if you're really not feeling confident at all, just walking up to someone and just asking them a question is such an easy way, because it's completely fine to do that, isn't it? You could be in the gym. All my examples are in the gym because it's the only thing I do really, but you could be in the gym and just walk up to someone and say like, "Excuse me, how many sets do you have left?" And they'll say 3. And you say, "Oh, okay, sweet. That's it." You might think, "Wait, how's that made a friend?" Let's say even if it doesn't even make a friend, just that act of you walking up and speaking to a stranger was some practice. You actually gained a bit of social skills, a bit of confidence just by doing that. And so if you went and asked 50 people, 100 people innocent questions in the next few weeks, you'd get to the next level of your confidence with speaking to strangers in public, and then you might be able to move on to these ones. So I remember the days where I used to go out with my friend, with my friend Levi. We used to go to clubs. And if I wasn't feeling very confident, I'd just go and ask the innocent questions. I'd walk up to a girl and be like, "Oh, what drink is that?" Like, I wanted to walk up to a girl and, look at her in a sexy way and say like, "Oh, you're gorgeous," or something. But when I didn't have the confidence to give her a compliment, sometimes I'd ask a stupid question like, "Oh, what drink is that?" And she'd be like, "Oh, it's like gin and tonic or some shit." And often if the girl likes you, like, she'd reciprocate straight away. Like, "Do you want a sip? Do you want to try it?" And it's like, okay, I got a free drink. And also now, like, me and this girl have bonded in this way. So you'd be surprised of how easy sometimes even the innocent question can get you, the relationship with someone. Like, there was a girl in my gym in university. she was like this Chinese girl, like this international girl. So usually we had a bit of a stereotype, which was like, oh yeah, like international students don't really mix with like the national students. Basically, me and my friends had never really seen like an international student from like China, especially like a girl in the middle of like a friendship group, which was from guys like us, like, you know, who were locals, or a girl who was international dating a guy. So we always had that limiting belief. But I was like, fuck it. I walked up to her and said, oh, excuse me, do you know what time this gym closes? And she was like, oh, you know, I think it's like closes at 7, whatever. And then basically I ended up sleeping with her, and she lived in the same building as me. And she'd come up to my room to basically get fucked like 2-3 times a week for like 6 months after that, because I just walked out. And she was a lovely girl. She was like 26 years old. I was like 19. She was like doing some PhD, mature student or something. And she'd come round with like gifts and stuff for me and everything. It's fucking awesome. And imagine if I was just too scared to like, or if I thought, oh, whatever, I'm not going to ask her this innocent question of what time the gym closes. I wouldn't have had that experience. It was fucking sick. And all I did was walk up and say, excuse me, do you know what time the gym closes? She said like 7 p.m. In my mind, I knew it was fucking 24 hours, but it doesn't matter. And I was like, oh yeah, so I see you in here sometimes training. And she's like, yeah, like I'm going to try the weightlifting today. I've never done that before. She normally does cardio. And so she tries. And I said like, okay, yeah, do a set. Let me see if you can do it fine. She does like the lat pull down. I give her like a little tip on like how to use the lat pull down better and stuff. We speak a bit, then I say to her like, oh, we should train together, get her number, end up like seeing her for a drink and stuff. And yeah, it was a fucking sick experience. And because I just went up with an innocent question, this, you know, videos on making friendships, but relatively it's the same thing. If you want to speak to a girl, by the way, it's basically the same things that I do, these 3, to go speak to a girl in public. So how do you speak to someone new online? Because this is in public, in person. Online, just send them a DM that you saw X. So for example, if you're inside of like an online community and someone's wrote a post that was so interesting and insightful and it gave you some realization and you genuinely thought like, oh damn, this post is valuable as fuck. You can send them a DM, be like, oh bro, just read your post. It was amazing. Well done. Thank you for writing it. They respond saying like, oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, glad you liked it, whatever. Then you send them another message saying like basically the same things as we do here. Like, oh, so like, you know, when did you join? Or what's your goals for this year? Or bro, we should do this thing. We should do that. Like, oh, you know, I'm about to write something. Do you want to hop on a call and discuss whatever it is? You're basically initiating the contact with the other person. When you're trying to speak to people online, by the way, you can do basically the same things here. I would mostly just go with the compliments online, just because it's a little bit, like, it's easier to give someone a compliment online. Like, imagine a guy has posted something that you found was interesting, to send them a DM and just say like, oh bro, that thing you posted was amazing. I got this insight from it. They'll think that's awesome. And it doesn't feel very hard to do that compared to obviously walking up to someone in person and giving them a compliment. So we've started the first conversation, which is you walk up to someone and say something. It's simple as that. Or you DM someone and say something. It's literally simple as that. And if you just did that 2-3 times a day, you'd never be lonely again. Think about that just for a second. Just really think about that. If you just did this and you walked up to like 2 people a day, or you sent like 2 DMs to someone a day, which literally can take like 2 minutes, you'd never be lonely again. Doesn't it kind of upset you to think like, and I hope you are insulted when I say this, that your loneliness is only because of your laziness, your lack of courage? Because how simple is that? If you just send 2 DMs a day, just 2, literally takes 30 seconds, you'd never be lonely again. If you just walked up to 2 guys in the gym every single time you went for a workout, you'd never be lonely again. If you just walked up to 2 girls in every time you went for a workout, you'd never not have multiple girls that you were actively like fucking or dating again. Think about how simple that is. Now, it's hard when you get there, approach anxiety, you forget, you start coping and saying, yeah, I'm just trying to stay focused on my workout. Get fucked. It is difficult. I won't lie to you. There's many days where I don't even speak to the 2 people in the gym, but how simple is that? Like, it almost blows your mind and almost like shocks you a little bit, isn't it? If you just, every time you go to the gym, if you just speak to 2 people, you would never be lonely again. You'd actually eventually have too many friends. That simple. That's all it takes. Go speak to 2 people and just use one of these 3. So you've gotten into these conversations, and what should you actually talk about? Let's particularly say like a sort of deeper conversation. Maybe it's the second time you guys have spoke. So you walked up once, gave someone a compliment, got their Instagram, said you guys should hit a workout together. He's down. Now you guys are hitting a workout together. Or for example, you sent someone a DM. He responded. You said, oh, we should hop on a call and, talk about shit. And he's like, yeah, he's down. Now we're in like more of a deep conversation, not just like the first time we've met them. Although, sometimes you can meet someone for the first time and end up spending hours with them. So what I would say is have a productive reason to get into the first big conversation. So if you meet a guy in the gym, for example, the easiest thing is say, oh, bro, we should hit a workout together. It would be fun training with someone and just getting hype. So many guys are down for that. If you message someone online and you said, you know, you saw him in like an internet community or a Discord server or something, and he wrote something that was really inspiring, or you saw his YouTube video and you messaged him saying like, oh, hey, bro, I just saw your YouTube video about, you know, getting your dick sucked. That was so cool, man. We should talk about getting our dick. Like, you get my point. Basically, like, you just say, like, let's talk about X and see if we can learn something from it. Or let's talk, like, let's meet for a productive reason. Let's go for a workout together. Guys are a little bit wary, especially for the first few times we've met each other, to do some, like, social bonding, which isn't goal orientated. So if you met a guy and you were like, oh, let's go for dinner together, it's like, it can be a little bit weird. If, for example, you met a bodybuilder, another guy who trains with you, and you're like, oh, let's get protein after this. Now, it's you see how it's goal orientated instead of social bonding orientated. So if you're going to have a conversation or some kind of like meet with this person, whether it's a call or you're going to meet up in person, you want to have some kind of like productive goal orientated reason for you guys to meet, and like whatever the conversation topic is going to be. So imagine you go speak to a guy in the gym and he tells you he's going to start his YouTube channel, and you've already posted like 50 videos, you've got 100 subscribers. You could tell him like, oh, bro, let's hit a workout tomorrow, and then we can talk about your YouTube channel as well. I'll see if I can teach you anything. Straight away, it's like you've added to the thing of like, since he's quite a goal-orientated guy, most likely he is if he's going to be compatible with you, and I assume you are, then suddenly it's like, oh shit, now it's actually like there's a productive, really good reason for you guys to meet, and it doesn't really just feel like a you know, like a social time sink, which a lot of guys view social life as, which, you know, isn't right, but whatever. And then we're in this conversation, you get some insightful realizations, you know, you're having this productive conversation or this productive workout together, and try and make it funny and connecting. This is where your real personality comes out in, is where like you have like shared humor together. You start telling stories about like girls that you've been with. You start telling stories about like wild shit you've done. You start talking about your goals, what you're struggling with, what you've accomplished, what like your vision is for the future. You're telling jokes, you're roasting each other a little bit. That's where a lot of the brotherhood bond comes from. You need to understand that you've been raised as kind of like a woman. Women and men make friends in a different way. Women don't make friends by like roasting each other. They make friends by basically like roasting other people. Men make friends by roasting each other. By roasting, I mean like almost like making fun and challenging each other. So when you train with a guy, like have a little bit of a challenge. Like, if it's authentic to you, if you're not like that, then by all means, like you don't need to be like this. But I found that most guys, as soon as they've got like healthy levels of testosterone and the realization that, oh yeah, this is way more like masculinity, we almost like challenge each other. And you'll randomly like just say like for example, you and your mate hitting bench press, and you just subtly say like, let's see who can bench more. Just that. Because that straight away will make your gym session twice as enjoyable. Twice. Because suddenly this motherfucker will take it seriously. You'll take it seriously. And it's like you'll have like this sort of handshake kind of, you know, respect for each other with whoever wins. Like this mini competition that you've made. That's how a lot of like connection is built up with a new guy that you've just met. So you have this productive reason for you guys to meet, and you try and level it up by things like, you know, making it funny, making it a little bit challenging, speaking about deeper topics. And I think this is where like it really separates the, like for me personally, let's say I'm a big YouTuber, right? I have a lot of fans and I meet a lot of fans, but there's always like some fans that end up becoming my friends. And there's also some fans who just stay as fans who I wouldn't want to be friends with, just quite frankly. And what I've found is that the fans who stay as fans, who I wouldn't want to be friends with, only try to keep it towards the productive conversation of like asking about self-improvement and stuff. And that just gets exhausting. It's like people just keep asking questions about self-improvement and advice and this and this. Whereas every time I do a meetup, there'll be some like more mature, cool kind of guys who will randomly, like, you know, they'll just talk to me like a human being, and we'll just end up laughing about shit, telling stories, like, you know, telling jokes. They're the ones I end up becoming friends with and getting their numbers and everything. So it's just something to bear in mind. Like, if you really want to have a good impact on someone, you don't just talk about like the topic at hand. You don't just talk about the gym. You make jokes about it. You make jokes about each other, like if it feels natural and, you know, authentic and stuff. And obviously you could make a joke about someone and they think it's really like rude or something. You've got to have the right kind of energy, personality and stuff. But this is how like a lot of connection is built, particularly if you can have a conversation multiple times over the first week that you've met each other. So for example, if you've message someone online and you have planned to do a call, I would suggest doing that call like immediately when they've replied, or, you know, a day later or something, and then do another one and another one. Because if you just get into one conversation, you're already like sticking out for each other. You know, you're both kind of significant. It's a new person you spoke to. But if you do something with them, like an activity straight away, or you speak to them on a call straight away, then you do it 2 or 3 times in the next like 3-4 days, suddenly you've almost become like new kind of like best friends because of how quick you spend time together. So this is a tip for you. If you meet someone who you like, who you want to level up things with, push to keep seeing them with high intensity for the first few days that you've met them. Get super close to them in the first few days and like do multiple things with them. And then you'll find that like you'll end up having way more of a serious relationship. So for example, how I met my best friend in university, Levi here, I walked into this like class, like we were on the computers in the computer class. We study psychology, but like for some reason we were on the computers. I walked in a little bit late and I just mindlessly went and sat at the back of the class where there was a free seat. And I was thinking, wait, like this season of my life is about making friends and I'm just sat by myself. That's kind of lame. And I looked to my left and there was this cool looking black guy just sat by like towards himself as well. And I was like, fuck it. Like I could just pretend like my computer's not working and go sit next to him right now. Should I do it? And I was like, you know, kind of scared because I was like, I'm going to stand up in the middle of the class. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Grabbed all my stuff, stood up. The lecturer looked at me a little bit weird and I said, oh, the computer's not turning on. And she went, oh, okay. Sat next to him. Didn't have the confidence to speak to him. So I'm like, you know, trying to turn on my computer and he goes, oh, bro, this is how you turn it on. And he's like, there's a button behind the screen or some shit. So I turn it on and I start speaking to him a little bit. And, you know, we start like making a little bit of jokes inside of the class. And then either one of us, I forgot who, but like says to each other, like, oh, what are you doing now? Let's go get food. So we end up like in this random takeaway together. So we're in like the second scene when you think about it. Me and him have just spoke for an hour in the class. Then we've walked like 15-20 minutes to like this little fast food takeaway restaurant thing. We're sitting inside and we're eating together. And then there's a few bonding moments where like, you know, we pass a drink to each other or whatever it is. We're sharing like a bit of the food or something. And then I think after that, we had another lecture that we didn't go to. Both of us had this bonding moment of like, oh, I got another lecture. I don't want to go, do you? And he's like, no. I was like, do you want to just like come to mine? And he brought his laptop and I think we just like played games or whatever, like at my place. And then we planned to like go out that same night. So that literally we only just met. We ended up spending the hour in the lecture together, then going to a takeaway, getting food together, then also the bonding experience of like skipping a lecture together, then coming to mine and chilling there for like a few hours, like listening to music and, you know, telling stories and shit. And then we like got changed, got ready together, like not in a gay way, but you get what I mean. And then literally started drinking together, going out to get girls. And that's literally, we did like 5-6 like significant things in the first 12 hours that we met each other, that we were basically like best friends from that first day that we met, because it was so intensive. So if you really meet a guy that you get along with and you really like them, see if you can push to spend a lot of time with them immediately. Don't be needy for it and don't like, you know, be desperate or something, but like, you know, play it cool a little bit, but like also, you know, show your authentic self and like you can show that you're a little bit keen to spend time with them because you actually are enjoying the time. And I'd be pushing for that. So if I meet someone who I really like, I'd want to do multiple things with them in possibly the first day or the second day, because you'll connect so much more, other than letting like, you know, the relationship kind of like you've met each other, then it kind of slows down and you're not that close. And then it just kind of fickles into another person on your Instagram that you feel like the need to speak to every now and then, but you're not very close. Finally, it's about meeting up in real life and doing an activity together. So if you've met each other in real life, then that's fine. But if you have met each other online, then it's time to do an activity together. So if you're someone who has made an online friend, what I would say to you is this is one of the best reasons to take a trip together. Whether you both live in the same country and you're going to go, both of you are going to take like a train to the big city and meet there and spend a day together, like going to the restaurants and whatever. Or maybe they live in a different country and you're thinking, fuck it, like the flight to that country is not even that expensive. I could get this hotel. It's not even that expensive. Like I could actually do it. This is one of the best reasons to take a little holiday, in my opinion, because it's like not only, you know, you're going to be taking some trips every now and then, but you're going to go meet a guy that you already know that's hype. You know, he'll come like you'll meet him at the airport or something, and you know it's exciting. You get out the house, you take badass pictures for Instagram and Tinder. You hit some workouts. It's a really good reason to plan like a trip together. Now, obviously, if you guys live close together, then you don't need to plan like a big trip together, although you can. But you can just plan something a bit smaller, like going to restaurants, going out to like clubs or parties or something, if that's your thing, or going to workouts, going for hikes, whatever it is. Have an awesome time. Then plan the next trip in advance for excitement dopamine. Basically, when you have something scheduled in the calendar, you get like free happiness from it because you get excited for it. So it's always good to have exciting things booked in that you know that you're looking forward to, that are consistent, that you know, oh shit, this is happening. And so when you go meet this person, plan something for like the next time. So plan like, oh yeah, this Sunday, bro, are you free on this Sunday? We should do this. And it's like hype and you both are super excited. Or if you're planning like this little holiday trip to go see this guy, you go, you have a sick time and you say, oh bro, we should plan this other trip for next month. We should do this. Are you free on that day? And you can be fairly upfront because this is quite important, right? It's very bonding if you meet someone and you already book in the next thing together, because it creates a lot of like security and certainty in your friendship. And if, for example, you're the kind of guy who values that, which I am, you can make it fairly clear to someone like, oh, I really appreciate like getting things booked in. Like I've said this to friends before. I've said like, I'm relatively like quite an anxious guy, quite an overthinker. And it's always been kind of hard for me to book things for the future because I always have this weird thought of like, oh, what if we're not friends anymore? What if this? What if this? So I said to him, like, it means a lot to me that we book things in 2-3 months in the future because it kind of like makes me feel very secure. And I've said this to some friends and they're like, whoa, that's fucking deep. Like, thank you for saying that. Thank you for admitting that. I've said this to girls as well, and they appreciate that honesty. So this is, at least if you're anything like me, I like having something planned in the future, which is booked in, because it's like, it symbolizes longevity in your friendship, that you guys expect to be friends at that point, which obviously like you might not do, but if you did, it's just something to consider. You meet someone in person, whether it's for a trip or just like, you know, just seeing each other because you live close by for a workout, whatever, and you plan the next thing whilst you're still there. So for example, me and my friend Zach, the one I train with, we'll go for a workout. Like, for example, we meet up at 9 a.m. today. And at the end of the workout, when we're like finishing up in the sauna, changing rooms, we'll mention like, oh yeah, you're training tomorrow? Yeah, at 9 a.m. Okay, see you then. Boom. It kind of like, you know, it gives you like almost like certainty. Oh yeah, it's tomorrow. That's what we're going to do. You don't want to be with, at least I don't want to be with someone who leaves you in a state of uncertainty when you don't know you're going to see them again for a while. It's almost like you're dating someone and you're dating a girl who's playing games and she like doesn't want to have anything booked in because she's kind of fucking around or something. You probably want to be with someone who's a bit more like stable in their life. Like they can look at you and say, yep, tomorrow 9 a.m. or next month on the 7th of June. Yeah, down. Let's do it. Let's book this trip. It's lovely to be friends with people who are stable enough to be able to book things like that. So at the start of this video, I promised that I'd teach you not only how to meet other guys, but also how to meet guys who are doing cool shit, who are compatible with you. And that's what we've covered with the 3 steps to making new high quality friends. We covered how making friends has changed. I hope I gave you some interesting insights with that, and also why I think the new age of friendship being online communities is actually so inspiring. And, you know, it makes me very happy to be on this website called School, to have my own community on there that I happily promote because I really think it's fucking awesome. I think it's well worth the money, and I think you'd really enjoy it if you did join. There's a link in the top of the link, if the description. It's not a direct link to buy it, but basically if you go sign up to the email list, you'll see pitches to join the product, so you might want to go and join anyway. And then we covered the second step, which was getting yourself ready to have quality friendships, because I wanted for you to prepare to be authentic when you meet these people. Then we had the third step, which was actually making and cultivating the friendship and leveling it up. So we've covered everything that I promised to you. So one last time, the emails list at the top of the description. If you just go click on that link right now on the top of the description, you'll get sent emails like this every day, which are detailed, and they'll help you get girls and improve yourself, become more attractive. Go click at the top link in the description right now for that. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.